So this is the first question of the foundation paper for AQA GCSE Spanish writing. What you have to do is you have to write 4 sentences in Spanish to describe the photo. I think the first thing at first is you really need to distinguish this and really separate it off from the photo card that appears in the speaking exam. In the speaking exam, you are required to give almost a paragraph for the first question about what's in the photo. This one, you need to write a sentence on each line. Now, my biggest tip more than anything else is to keep your sentences as simple as possible and use as few words as possible. In order to do this, what I would do is I would start each sentence simply with the word I. In the mark scheme itself, there's nothing that says that you cannot do that. There's no marks for variety. Let's have a look at what's in the photograph itself. My top tips more than anything else, start with the people. So we can see una. Now this is without me even going too in depth with it and looking at things like the tent and the chairs. I've already got 1, 2, 3, 4 different nouns from that picture. I would also make a point of learning your furniture. The reason why I would learn your furniture is because if you get any photograph, for instance, in a school where they might be sitting down eating lunch, if there are people on an aeroplane, or if there is a restaurant photo, you'll always see table and chairs. So it's just 2 words, see that, miss that I would really commit to memory. So you can draw upon those and use them at all times. So what I've got now is I've got 6 nouns. I can make those into sentences. What I want to do first of all is I want to show you what not to do and what a lot of people will do. So for instance, people might start by looking at the people. They might say that there are 2 women and 2 men. So what a lot of students will do is they will write I, mujeres. Now that's fine. That's fine in itself. It makes perfect sense in Spanish. But I would be questioning myself, or question you, why are you using up that extra noun when you can make a separate sentence out of this by putting hay dos mujeres, and rather than just giving yourself the chance to get 2 marks by putting it in 1, so this would be 2 marks tops, I can divide that sentence up, hay dos hombres, and on the next line put hay dos mujeres, and give myself access to 4 marks. So you want to keep your sentences as short and as simple as possible. That's my first tip. So use I plus 1 noun. Don't use any more than 1 noun. My second tip is that people will extend their sentences, and by doing so is they might make a lapse in communication. So for instance, hay dos mujeres, and they might put habla. Now the issue with mujeres and habla is mujeres is plural, so we need to say they speak, or there are 2 women speaking. You've got to use the they form of the verb. If I use habla, I'm using the he shape form. Now because I've done that, and because that verb is grammatically, it doesn't match with that noun, what the examiner would say is that counts as the message wouldn't be conveyed. It would be confusion, and they would only give you 1 mark rather than if you hadn't put that and ignored that for this sentence alone. Okay, so just keep your sentences really simple. Don't add any extra. I'm just going to continue on. Dead easy. My key takeaways for this more than anything else: firstly, keep your sentences nice and simple. Use a maximum of 2 or 3 words where you can. Secondly, do not extend. So don't add any extra verbs in, don't add any extra words in. That could have been avoided. Thirdly, 1 noun per sentence. Don't use 2 nouns in a sentence and link them with a connective, purely because you can use that on another line and give yourself access to 4 marks rather than 2. Finally, my last tip, start each sentence with just I. Don't even bother with en la foto. It's extra words that you do not need. One last little tip: what you shouldn't do is mention what there isn't in the photo. So for instance, I could put no hay un pez. You do not get marks for what there isn't in the photograph. So you must state what is in the photograph and do not state what isn't.